Welcome everybody to another edition of our Pro Football Pick'em show. So if you are making your picks today, might want to watch this or you might not. But if you do, we're going to give you all of me and Sam's picks for the week. Sam, are you ready to kind of get into week 9 of the season?
I'm ready, and this is the Pro Football Challenge.
Yes.
And if anybody has seen my record this year knows that it has been a challenge for me. I am ready. This is my week to bounce back. I say this every week, but this is the week we're going to bounce back.
All right.
I'm ready.
Maybe it will. We didn't do a pick'em show last week. We had a lot of people that were upset about that. So we're back this week with another edition. Now, our producer Spencer has told us that we should go over the VIP leaderboard right now. So to show you where we are at right now, so you can trust either me or Sam more or less than you already do.
Probably less.
In first this week with an absolutely great week was Kristen, our morning meteorologist, with 81 picks total correct. This week was a bad week. This past week, week 8, was a terrible week for a lot of us. A lot of crazy things happening that we'll talk about in the show, but hurt a lot of us, hurt me. I dropped from first to third, so not very good for me that week. Oh, poor me. Emily in second, Tom, our evening anchor, in fourth, Aaron in fifth, Jenna in sixth. Then we go to Ross, Sam. I'm sorry, you're down there. You're down there now. Amy, Chris, Grace, and Thomas. Now, I do want to say something about Thomas because we got to give him some love here. You might have noticed 61 picks. That doesn't seem like a
Thomas.
Like
there he goes.
There he goes, right behind us in the feed there. But Thomas came into the season 2 weeks after it began, so he had 2 weeks of just absolutely no points, and he's almost reaching Grace.
No.
Who's played the whole season.
We've talked about this at the end of the year, right? We lose our 2 worst weeks of picks.
I think it's even more than that.
I
think it's 4 weeks of picks. If I'm correct on that, it's 4 weeks. Your 4 worst weeks get dropped.
Don't be surprised when at the end of the year, Thomas jumps from last to first.
So let's get into what everybody wants to see is the picks this week. So let's roll through them real quick, Sam. First one, Jets, Indianapolis. I know that everyone is leaning towards the Colts. Vegas leaning towards the Colts. They have a hefty point spread. I think they're favored by 10.5 exactly. So, but I do want to mention something like I always do. Who would have known that last week the emergence of Mike White would make this matchup so interesting? I mean, it makes it so interesting, right?
And I was just telling you before the show, Mike White, you might not have heard of him last week. And
you may not have heard of him ever.
This morning, if you go and you visit the Pro Football Hall of Fame, you will see his game jersey and game ball on the wall.
That's
it is enshrined in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He had one of the best opening starts in the history of the NFL. I think he was 34, 37, something like that.
No, nuts
insane stats, over 400 yards passing, one of the first times in history. I think the only other person in their first start to throw for 400 yards, I think, was Cam Newton.
Yeah, I think you're right. I saw a tweet like that.
I mean, Mike White, just incredible. That could be a game changer.
It could be a game changer.
Very good Cincinnati football team, a team I know you're very high on.
I do like Cincinnati, and they went in there and truly, honestly, I didn't know what we were going to get with that game, but we got a real great matchup. So hear me out. I know people aren't going with the Jets. I know Vegas wants to go with the Colts, but I kind of want to go with the Jets.
You should.
I want to go. No. Oh, you're going to tell me why not? I kind of want to go with them.
Look, I like the Colts, and they're 3-5, but they are a very good 3-5 team.
They are.
Despite Carson Wentz, that man won and lost the game against the Titans this week about 6 times. He lost the game for them, won it, lost it. He is a roller coaster to watch.
Does that make you have more confidence in the Colts?
I don't have confidence in either
confidence?
team, to be honest. Okay. But it is a good roster in Indianapolis. I think they get on a win streak. They have a lighter schedule kind of heading into the tail end of the year. And I think I did say this last week against the Titans, but I think they kind of continue that role this week. That's my pick. I'm going to go with Indianapolis at home. Thursday night, it's kind of unpredictable.
You know what?
I could see the Jets coming in and winning by 20.
I'm going to go with the Jets. I'm going to be this is one of the matchups this week I'm calling as an upset because I think I have a feeling, and that's what we're going with. I like it. I have a feeling. So let's move on to the next matchup. A matchup that has a lot of question marks this week. Didn't think it would have a lot of question marks this week, but it does with the absence of Jameis Winston. Now, Trevor Siemian stepped up last week in that game against the Bucs, but can he step up this week in the game against Atlanta?
You know, some are saying the the Atlanta sports curse has been lifted due to the Braves.
Oh, due to the Braves, yeah.
This week, I do think that the Georgia sports curse is lifted.
Okay.
Just not off the Falcons.
You think now it's a specific Falcons curse?
Right. I don't know if anybody has seen the meme of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles when they're kids and they're being sheltered in and then they're grown up and they're sheltering their mentor. That right there, I saw that earlier today. The Atlanta Falcons are they used to be the winners. Trust me. You got to see it. But anyway, no, the Falcons. Okay. Are not beating the Saints this week. Jameis Winston was dancing on a torn ACL and MCL in the locker room after the game. He's got that magic going on in the locker. I like the Saints roster. I think at home they're a surefire bet against the Falcons.
I think even if, obviously Taysom Hill is maybe going to be an option for them moving forward, but we'll have to see how Trevor Siemian does because he could be taking that starting spot for the rest of the season, just how well he performs, obviously, with last week, and then moving forward now this week. We just have to see how he does. I think still a question mark in my mind. Still a question mark, but I do agree with you. I think the Saints can win that matchup.
And I will say for this year, Cordell Patterson has been incredible for the Falcons. He's been their top go-to option as a running back receiver.
Kyle Pitts, who is not just a tight end, but receiver number one.
he is all right too.
He is all right too,
Calvin Ridley decided to step away from football this week for personal reasons.
Fantasy teams really got rough this week.
I had Calvin Ridley, Derrick Henry, and Henry Ruggs.
Yeah, and Henry Ruggs. Yeah,
it was a rough week for my fantasy team, but we're gonna go with all that to say Saints are gonna win this ball game. Yeah. That's my pick.
You didn't have Aaron Rodgers on your fantasy,
I did
right?
not have Aaron
good.
Rodgers
You didn't
on my
take
team,
a complete hit.
I didn't take the whole team is not ownership, but. Yeah, no, my fantasy season's over, so I'm all focused on the Pick'em Challenge.
All right, I'll focus on the Pick'em, so let's hope that goes through. Denver and Dallas, you kind of go back and forth on Dallas every week that we do the Pick'em show. You're like,
because I don't like Dallas.
I know you don't like Dallas, but I think they are a legit good team, and I think the Broncos are a legit bad team. Every time I seem to pick them, they seem to lose. So I think the Cowboys have this one in the bag. I don't really need to even really discuss that with you because. Again, every time I pick the Broncos, they lose. So
I will say I was impressed with Denver's defense this week. Their pass rush was incredible against Washington without Von Miller. Now Von Miller's moved on to the Rams, but their defense did step it up. But if Dak Prescott's a question mark this week, I still think that Dallas team is good enough to win. Just like you said, they are a very good team. As much as I'm a Dallas,
they have enough
hater,
weapons to make it happen. They do, even without Dak.
They're a very good team and a legitimate contender in the NFC.
They really are. So it's easy enough pick for both of us. New England and Carolina. I've liked what we've said this 2 weeks ago. Excuse me, we said this 2 weeks ago that the Patriots starting to find their groove, starting to their offense is starting to settle under Mac Jones, and I think. This Patriots team is a lot better than people believed at the beginning of the year. That 4-4 record is quite deceiving, especially going against a Carolina team that has just been on and off, hit or miss every single week. I think the Patriots have this one in the bag, quite literally, in my opinion.
No, I think that's the best take you've had today.
Oh,
this Patriots
yay.
team. Not that my opinion matters because I'm losing the Pro Football Pick'em Challenge, but New England is, starting to find rhythm. They are one of, if not the best coach team in pro football this year. They've been making things very difficult for opposing teams.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at the AFC right now, and I'm like, at 4-4, clearly, that's not a beautiful record.
It doesn't look good on paper. It really doesn't.
This team makes a little run, gets themselves into the playoffs. Like, who in the AFC are you saying is like a surefire pick over New England?
Yeah.
They've owned the Bills for the last, 2 decades.
Yeah.
Bill Belichick has. And I mean, there is Baltimore, but I mean, even Cleveland I just don't see a team that I'm like, that team is so much better than New England. I think New England could be any team in the AFC this year.
I think that's
they're not playing
a bad...
a AFC opponent, but they're playing Carolina, and they're going to beat Carolina on the road. And I think that was a good pick.
Yeah, I think so too, and I think the viewers as well agree with that 74%. Some going with Carolina though, 26. That still shows a little bit of difference there on the picks there for our viewers, but this one they're pretty decided on. The viewers, Baltimore with 94%, Minnesota as well. I could see this one, I don't know, going two ways. I mean, I know you like the Vikings. Did you pick them last week? I can't remember.
Pick the Vikings this week.
Or last week or this
on Monday.
On Monday, yeah.
When they played the Cowboys.
Yeah.
And then ended up losing. It was a close game, but the
yeah.
Vikings offense looked pretty impressive. Probably one of the best outings they had this year.
Yeah.
But the battle of the two purple teams this year. Gotta break it down into simplistic terms.
But also, I think it does help when Baltimore is at home. I think that really does help, especially with this Baltimore team.
I agree, and even though this is a noon start, it is starting to get colder in that part of the country.
It is, yeah.
I think
pretty cold.
Yes, their crowd will show up. I think Lamar Jackson and the crew, I think they bounce back this week. I think he kind of has another one of those MVP caliber outings, and I like Baltimore in this one as well.
Yeah, I do too. I think they are a good team, and especially like you said, Lamar Jackson. I mean, he will have he's due for another big blowout. Hey, here I am. Okay, you forgot about me. I'm back in the conversation now. So I think if that bodes well for fantasy teams as well, right? If you have him on your squad, so hopefully that helps some people out too. Cleveland, Cincinnati. Gosh, I want to pick the Bengals. I really do because I like them. But I'm also kind of leaning towards Cleveland as well.
This is a tough one for me, right? Because I picked Cleveland last week, and they let me down against the Steelers. Steelers are not an incredible team this year. They have a very solid defense.
But I picked the Steelers because I thought that was going to be an upset for them. I really thought that was going to be a good upset match.
On the road? In Cincinnati?
Cincinnati's pretty. I mean, I don't know. It's a tough one because I think
Cincinnati's going to be practicing in the cold all week. We know that. They don't have an indoor facility. We know that.
We know that. Sam's random facts of the day. If you didn't remember the show from 2 weeks ago, they don't have an indoor practice facility. So
I mean, I think honestly, Vegas kind of likes Cleveland. Cincinnati is a 2.5-point favorite. There's typically that 3 is kind of where the line is drawn for a home favorite, even when they're matched up pretty evenly. So I think Vegas kind of likes Cleveland here.
I know, and I kind of do too. I think I'm going to go with the Browns upsetting Cincinnati is what I'm going to go with. I know you're going to pick against me for it.
I don't know.
You like to pick against me.
I do like picking against you. I think if you would have gone with Cincinnati, I would have immediately picked Cleveland.
Yeah.
In this case, I'm not quite sure. Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, Jamar Chase is leading the league in receiving yards right now. Obviously off to a great year. Probably on his way to winning Offensive Rookie of the Year. They're doing great things. I think the Jets were a fluke last week. I don't know if they were a fluke. It was a bad game. I like Cleveland. I'm gonna go Cincinnati. Yeah, just like you said, purely because I picked
Cleveland. But that could be a good. I mean, really, either of us could get that pick. Right. I mean, genuinely, either of us could get that pick.
And both of these teams are gonna be competing for a wild card position at the tail end of the year. These games do matter, so a lot on the line. But I'm gonna go Cincinnati.
Okay. All right. I'll respect it. I don't think we need to talk too much about this. Yeah, Buffalo. That's okay. Match. Great. We really flew through that. Sorry, guys. I know some Jaguars fans might not be.
Shouldn't be.
Happy about that, but
that team looked lost this past week.
That looked like they had no idea what they were doing. And
coming off a bye week, it looked like they were still on a bye week, It was just messy.
And they
messy
had a
game
bye
for
week. That was the
Jaguars.
thing. Everyone
Right.
said, "Oh, Jaguars have a bye week to go into this game. They're going to be so prepared. They're going to have extra time to heal up." No, that was
Right.
not the case at all. So I don't have a lot of faith in this Jacksonville team. You don't have a lot of faith in them. And against a Buffalo team that has been doing quite well this year, don't think it's going to be much of a contest there in Jacksonville this week. But let's move on. Houston, Miami, another team that I just don't have a lot of faith in, or two teams I don't have a lot of faith in. 1-7, 1-7. Do you think it just is? I think it purely comes down to being in Miami. I think, it just purely comes down to, that home field advantage.
There's been a lot of talk between these two teams this season as far as, the Texans potentially moving Deshaun Watson to Miami.
But that didn't happen.
Right,
That did not happen. They are going with Tua, and they made that very, very clear.
And they're making it clear.
He is the franchise quarterback.
Both of these teams just keep on losing. Houston, they won their week 1 match against Jacksonville, and now they're 7 in a row. Miami, 1-7. This is just going to be an ugly ball game.
It's going to be an ugly game.
Pity anybody that is there. But
I think really, honestly, this is just you toss a coin. Like, do we have a penny or something we can toss to just go with whichever heads tails?
Siri, flip a coin.
I'll pick the one that you don't get on the heads or tails.
I think again I'll go with Miami. Houston's a very bad football team. Miami's very bad too, but a little bit better.
They're both very bad. So which one's just a little bit better? I think, like I said, I'm going purely based on that home field advantage. Let's move on. Las Vegas and the New York Giants. Las Vegas.
Things just keep going wrong for Las Vegas. But
wrong.
At 5-2, they
not going wrong on the field. So.
Right. Derek Carr, he's, as much as people love to hate on him, he is a good quarterback regardless of what anybody says. I think the Giants are a mess right now. Daniel Jones has looked relatively good this year.
And my boy Kadarius Toney also balling out when he has his moments.
I'm going with Las Vegas.
I'm going to go with Las Vegas too, purely because you just don't know what you're going to get with the Giants. I think this one will be close. Let me just put that out there. For a team that's 5-2 and a team that's 2-6, you would be surprised to hear me say that, but I think it's going to be close. I just think Las Vegas has a bit of the edge. So
I think that's going to be how it goes. I think it's going to be one of those field goal ugly.
Yeah, field goal
games.
ugly.
This could be a game that goes to overtime, but
I think Las Vegas. Yeah, I think they do too. Our next matchup, Chargers and Philadelphia. I don't like the Eagles this year. I don't like them at all. I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I just don't. I think they have
them last week either.
No, I didn't. I didn't like them last week. You're correct on that. I picked against them last week, which
they kind of balled out.
Didn't work in my favor. But again, you said a little bit earlier it was a fluke on the Jets. Remember that in a little earlier in the show? You said it's a fluke on the Jets. I think the
Jets
Eagles
won a 3-point thriller
game.
The Eagles won by 30 points?
Yeah, the Lions are bad. But I don't like the Eagles. I really don't think they're going to win this game against a Chargers team that has an explosive offense and can truly do a lot of things.
This one really is tough for me because Justin Herbert has had 2 back-to-back poor performances.
Yeah.
Not just he's regressed a little bit. He's had 2 bad performances the last 2 weeks, and the Chargers they just keep finding ways to lose after starting off so strong.
Do.
Philadelphia, that's a tough place to play this time of year. they're not a great team, but this is going to be a very close match. I think I like Philadelphia. And
okay. I'm with you, but
they beat a very bad Lions team last week.
Pummeled a very bad Lions team last week. Pummeled them.
I still think the Chargers compete for a wild card position in the playoffs, but right now I think Philadelphia takes this match.
Green Bay, Kansas City. Earlier this week, I would have told you, my pick is Green Bay. But obviously with Aaron Rodgers getting COVID, that has changed. I don't know if that's changed for you at all, not knowing who is going to be out there for Green Bay at quarterback.
No, that certainly does change things for me. Anytime Aaron Rodgers is on or off the field, he makes a huge difference in that team. For years, he carried them to the playoffs for teams that should not have made it to the playoffs just because.
And he finds ways to win.
He's one of the best quarterbacks to ever play this game. And with him not being on the field this week, they did say Devontae Adams will be back out there this
Okay.
week. But
that helps. It helps. Doesn't necessarily change my mind that I think the Chiefs, even with all the Chiefs issues this year and all the, the last couple of weeks, I just haven't been super impressed with them. Well, neither have I been impressed with their signal caller, Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
So I think it drastically changes my opinion if Aaron Rodgers is out there. But right now, there are too many question marks. We saw pictures of Blake Bortles possibly suiting up with the team, possibly being signed on. We don't have any confirmation, but seeing pictures of him out there, they obviously don't know what they're going to do at quarterback right now. They don't know. So I think Kansas City has this one purely on that.
Vegas has Kansas City favored by 7.5, and that says a lot.
And that says a lot, but it changed. It was a lot closer than that earlier in the week. Once Rodgers,
it's gonna keep going up and down.
When
as,
Rodgers was in, boom, it
but
spiked.
Kansas City is genuinely, I think that's a team that could really miss the playoffs this year.
Yeah,
they have a lot to figure out. Mahomes hasn't been the same. The defense is abysmal. But I do think that they win this one, kind of get a few people back on their bandwagon this week. I think they see some impressive fantasy performances, but I like Kansas City as well. It's going to be it could be a close game, but we'll see how.
Yeah, we'll see how it plays out. So you went with Kansas City on that. Okay, perfect. Moving on to the next matchup, Arizona, San Francisco. Down goes the undefeated Cardinals. So do you think they pull it back out this week, win another one, or do you think that kind of gets in their heads a bit?
Again, this is a tough matchup because San Francisco, they keep, losing these close games, but they are a good team, and they are a good roster. And again, when we kind of talk about the odds this week, they have San Francisco favored, by 1.
Yeah.
Or sorry, Arizona favored by 1 on the road, which clearly Arizona's favor. But it is going to be a tough match for them. And even though they're off to a 7-1 start, I kind of like San Francisco this week at home. 3-4 San Francisco.
I agree with you. I kind of like San Francisco as well, and partially because we saw reports this week about Kyler Murray maybe missing some practice due to the ankle injury. Not sure, he might play in limited capacity. He may play the whole game, but I think that kind of makes me a little nervous as well to pick them. It's like, okay, do you guys, it's kind of another question mark for me. Like we talk about with Green Bay, it makes me a little bit more nervous to pick Arizona. So I'm going to go with you. I'm going to say that San Francisco upsets them. Cardinals are on a low right now, right?
I don't know if losing one game is quite a low. I mean,
when
they're
you're
7-1.
Hey, whoa. When you're on that undefeated record and you have everybody saying, only undefeated team, you get all of that in your head. Yeah, it can. How the mighty have fallen.
But I mean, I'm picking with San Francisco too. So
I think San Francisco beats them. So I think you're right on that.
I may switch it later in the week. So if next week you see that I got that pick right and it's for Arizona, that's one I might switch. But for now, I'm sticking with San Francisco.
Okay, all right. Okay, let's go with the Monday night game, the Bears and the Steelers. I know people are not.
Oh, geez.
Oh, geez. I know the viewers don't want to pick the Bears this week. Spencer, our producer, is a big fan of the Bears. Spencer, you picked the Bears this week? Of course he did. He picked the Bears. Okay, all right. I'll go with that. I don't think I'm going to pick the Bears this week purely because I know Pittsburgh's not great. But I thought there was glimmers of hope last week. I really did. I was like, okay. All right, this is what Pittsburgh can do. We're seeing, we're seeing a little bit come out, and I think that having that home field advantage, it's cold up there too, Sam.
It is very cold in Pittsburgh and at Heinz Field, but Chicago. This is. I just have an irrational hate for the Chicago Bears, and I know the Bucks, my team, we blew them out of the water a couple weeks ago, but they're just one team that honestly, Pittsburgh is too. I don't like either of these football teams.
Yeah, I don't really either.
Because you went with Pittsburgh, I kind of want to go with Chicago, but I just haven't seen enough from their offense this year to make me think that they can, Pittsburgh's defense
I'll give you
some games.
I'll give you a free pick. I'll change it if you really want to go with Pittsburgh. I'll change it.
Want Chicago?
That's how unsure I am that either of these teams can actually, you know what I mean? The team I saw last week is going to show up to this game.
I'm going with
so-
Pittsburgh. You do what you want to do. I'm siding with Pittsburgh. It's bitten me a lot this year to pick against Chicago, but I'm doing it again this week.
You know what? For that reason, I'm going to pick Chicago. I'm changing it. For that reason.
I'm out.
For that reason and that reason only, picking Chicago. You're welcome, Spencer. If that turns out to be a bad pick for me, I'm coming after you. So, and our tiebreaker game this week, Tennessee and the Rams. Honestly, without Derrick Henry, I really have a hard time picking Tennessee. I really do. I'm
pulled
sorry.
It out against the Colts
I
this
know
week.
I know they did, but I have
without Derrick Henry.
I know, but I have a hard time picking them without Derrick Henry, and maybe that's just because I really like Derrick Henry,
and also probably because the Rams are probably playing the best football of anybody right now. They might be the best team in the league at this point. I would even say right now probably a little better than my Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Probably better than the Cardinals.
Going with that?
I gotta go with the Rams. They acquired Von Miller, who's not the Von Miller of old.
Okay, but that's not necessarily the end all be all of this game.
it
Acquiring
is
Von
not.
Miller is not
He
like
might not
the,
even
oh my
play.
gosh.
But that is a very good team right there, and I think they're just gonna keep on winning for now. I think, like you said, without Derrick Henry, I
think it does hurt them.
Completely different team. No running back affects the outcome of a game for any team more than Derrick Henry does, and I think it's really going to hurt them this week in LA.
Do you have a score prediction?
Not yet, because it's not letting me select this team. Let me put my score in. Let me see if that if you select your score, if you type your score, it should go for it. 31 for the Rams. And
is it weird that I was going to put 31 too?
20 for the Titans.
Is that super weird? I was going to put 31 too.
I'd say it's a pretty normal football score.
No, I know, but I was just leaning towards 31. Okay, just to be different, I'm going to go 30 because I just want to be different than you. So,
we
30,
love that.
23. So that's mine
if
for
you guys haven't picked up on anything else this year, is that me and Courtney like to pick against each other.
Because it makes it more competitive. In the sports department, it makes it more competitive. We have to be a little competitive
One week
here.
I'll have a better week. Most weeks she has a better week, but just how it goes.
All right. Well, saving those. Picks are saved. Picks are in for week 9 for the both of us. Another weather radio goes to that winner of the weekly picks. So if you get the most weekly picks right, you get the prize and a $50 gift card to Hammerhead Fred. So some great prizes this week. Go make your picks. You can make them up to 5 minutes before the game. The reason they do that, because somebody announced as injured, if something changes, they give you a chance to change that pick. So you can make them and change them up to 5 minutes before the game. You're going to want to watch that Thursday night game tonight. Starts tonight. So week 9 begins this evening. We'll see.
In Indianapolis.
Oh, I really hope that isn't a bust for me on that pick. And we'll see you next week for another edition of the Pro Football Challenge Pick'em Show. See you guys then.